off a daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit up by, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor good as it gets. Build a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS Sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. I, of course, am your host, the DFS Bachelor, and we are going to go over our Draftkings League of Legends picks. And since I'm a complete noob, I am very, very, very happy to be joined by a League of Legends brain surgeon. I am learning things like just the talk we had before the video started. I am learning so much shit that I had no idea was going on. So I'm really excited to have Mike here with us.
What's up?
How you doing this morning, man?
Good. It's about 12:20. Just had some cake for breakfast.
Nice.
Pretty good.
I'm having beer for breakfast. That's what I usually do, and everyone knows that around here. Cheers to you all.
Cheers.
Thank you all for being here. For those of you who may not know Mike, you want to kind of give him your history with League of Legends, how long you've been playing, DFS, etc.
Sure. So it's probably good to know that League of Legends, the thing that you've been betting on for the past couple of weeks since the coronavirus hit, is about 10 years old. So one thing to know about the community is that there are not a lot of sports bettors out there. Like when League of Legends got really big, it got big with high school kids and college kids around 2010 in California. Like that's the hub of esports, really, is out on the West Coast. So I've been playing since I was like a sophomore in college. I'm okay. Like I was top 1% at one point playing the game. And then in like the ranked environment, when you have like organized teams, I was pretty high up in there. My team would compete against college teams and we always did pretty well. And then I stopped playing for a little while, but I got back into it and I started coaching actually. So I coached Rutgers for a year.
Wow.
And we were really good. We had one kid that turned professional. He's a pro right now. Bob Jenkins. He's still playing top lane. I forget what team he's on right now, but like right before our season started, he left. So that hurt us a lot. And then one of my guys got academically ineligible. So we went from being like a very good team that had a chance of competing in the Big Ten to just a not a very good team at all.
I would say that's something you're not going to guess. Someone who's great at esports, you think of super intelligent, right? Techie.
Yeah.
Not being academically eligible is surprising.
Yeah.
See that coming.
It's funny because like you're right. A lot of the kids that play League are intelligent, but sometimes it just doesn't translate into the classroom and they just don't give a shit.
Right.
Like this
right.
The kid that's academically ineligible, he was good enough to like potentially turn pro at some point, but he was just not good enough to turn pro, but he was close enough where he wanted to try.
Right.
So it was just a unlucky situation. But then in terms of DraftKings, I've been playing DraftKings. How many years has DraftKings been around? 7 years?
Yeah, 7, 8 years. 8 years.
Yeah. So I think within the first year that it was open, I started playing on it. They didn't have League of Legends at the time, and I wasn't very good. And like I said, I was probably like 21, 22, something like that, and I just didn't have the money to do it.
Right.
But I love basketball, love football, love all the traditional sports, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was successful in League of Legends DraftKings is because I understood DraftKings and DFS more than everybody I was competing against, because I either had an edge on them in terms of League knowledge or DraftKings knowledge.
Right. That's what's been carrying me is just DraftKings knowledge. I've actually been pretty successful. I don't know a damn thing, and I've had a few real close calls. Just kind of doing the stacking. For those of you looking to follow Mike on Twitter, he's at League of Items on Twitter. Be sure to follow him over there as well. Crazy sheets and stats. Just the amount of information. This might be a little bit longer video than some of our future ones because there's going to be a lot of information. We're going to try to teach some of you. A lot of you who watch my show are typical NBA, NFL, WNBA. So this is going to be really helpful. So there's going to be a lot of information packed into this, and I'm really excited to have Mike. Again, I really am. So thanks for being here, and hopefully we have a good time and we keep doing this. do this
Yeah.
for every contest if that's something,
I
you know,
think
if I don't
I
piss
think
you off too much.
yeah, I think it'll be great. I think that I've been saying it a lot on Twitter. So like when the tournaments are going on or like the regular season is going on, I try to put out some information about the games themselves, and it might give you a better understanding of the individual teams, and that might make you comfortable enough to even bet on them like straight up.
Right.
Uh, we were talking about this before the game started or before the stream started, and I think that eventually sports books are going to have to start releasing live lines just to get more action on the sports.
Sure.
And if if that happens, we can destroy them because there's so many things that are set in place before the game starts that you just know that the team like an underdog might have a very good chance of winning. So if you look at last night, for example, in the first draft for the DMO series against LNG, LNG was a big favorite going into that match. But
Right.
right when the draft happened, I was like, well, fuck. Like DMO is going to win and they're going to ruin some of my lineups.
Right.
And I didn't have any exposure to them. And I hate that so much when you go through the entire lineup building process, you have them in, you take them out, you put them back in, you think, oh, like, is this underdog really going to have any kind of chance of winning? And I'm the kind of guy that loves betting on underdogs.
Right.
Like I'm
Me
a
too.
contrarian guy. I'm a contrarian guy in nature. And I always look for like those kinds of less owned stacks. So if there's a night where it's like, oh, a jungle lineup won on a 6-person slate, that's never going to be me because that requires just like it's a fringe outcome. Like
Right.
I hate building lineups like that.
Right, right. Makes total sense. One thing I noticed, and this is just because I'm a total noob, some games seem to only play one game and some games play two or three. Is that because of the playoff format? And do we have that situation with tonight's slate?
Sure. So that depends on the region that you're playing in. So right now, everybody is either in their regular season or just finishing up their regular season. So in North America and in Europe, they play best of one formats during the regular season. And then once the playoffs start, it's either a 3-game set or a 5-game set, depending on what part of the playoffs they're in.
Okay.
And for every individual slate, we like DraftKings won't put a 1-game matchup and a 3-game matchup in the same contest. So we won't really have to worry about that.
Oh, okay, good, good. Yeah, I
Um,
just learning.
sure. And then for tonight, all the sets are 3 games.
Oh, okay, good, good, good. And I hear this a lot, like LPL, LCK. LPL teams, if I'm not mistaken, tend to score more points, tend to be higher scoring games, while LCKs are lower scoring games. Is that something that you focus on while playing DraftKings?
Sure. So I think that breaking it down to LPL and LCK is a really popular thing to do right now, but I think it's kind of like too reductionist. Like it's more about the game environment, and there might be individual, and I'm going to use this word a lot, metas in different regions. So a meta is like the most like efficient way of playing a game or being able to optimize your team's chances of winning in like a closed system. So I don't know if that is
Right.
something
No.
that most people are going to be familiar with, but
Okay.
like basically every game of League of Legends happens on the same patch. So a patch is like the court and the equipment. Like if you go to a basketball court and it's like an NCAA game, they use the same ball in every single game. They have the same kind of regulation hoops, the same regulation court size. From patch to patch, things in League of Legends will change, and that has teams playing better or worse depending on how good they match up with that or how flexible they are.
That is why you're here, brother. That is a beautiful mind right there. I love that. I love
So
that.
and the way that impacts League of Legends is that if China reads a patch differently than LCK, then they could be more fighting intensive. And for DraftKings, we want people who are going to be fighting a lot.
Right.
So I think the people who say like LPL is going to get higher DraftKings scoring in general, I think that they're probably right, but I just don't like the way that they talk about it because it's like if you're that focused on it, you're going to lose out on a lot. And that's actually something that I used to my advantage in the fall. There was a tournament during the World Finals. It was the last DraftKings tournament of the year, and I took down first place by stacking T1 and some other team because T1 was a big favorite, but everybody was like, "Oh, well, they're from Korea. They're not going to get as many kills as an LPL team,"
Gotcha.
and it's just not true.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, so like in an individual, and like if you look at the set from last night, Gen G versus T1. Going into last night, I liked T1 a lot more because I thought the games would be more like the third game that they had,
Right.
where it was a higher kill score game, but they didn't reach value last night. I don't think they weren't the top stack or anything like that.
No, I only played one lineup and I went T1, but I liked the play because they were an underdog or
Yeah,
a slight underdog. They were really low owned. I mean, I was getting them at 7 and 8% across the board. So
yeah.
I'll take a loss, but my strategy is going to stay the same. I'm always going to go after that. I just wish I would have played DMO. Damn it.
I mean, just think about the slate last night. There were three underdogs that won,
Yeah.
and that is very unlikely to happen, especially in a 3-game set, because you figure the better team has more opportunities to win. They're going to pull out the series win,
Right.
and that's why you see the sports books weigh everything so crazy.
Gotcha. Well, we have a 6-game slate that starts. Technically, for me, it starts today. I guess for you guys on the East Coast. By the way, we hope everyone's safe and healthy. I know Mike's over in New Jersey. It's much crazier than here in Oregon.
Yeah,
I appreciate like so many of you listeners are probably going to be playing LOL for the first time tonight just because you're so loyal to the show. So I appreciate you all very, very much. If you're new, subscribe. We're going to be doing these videos as often as possible for League of Legends. So just to everyone, be safe. Let's all try to stay inside and get this shit over with so that we can, go get drunk at a bar and, I can get rejected by 21-year-old girls because I'm too old, I mean, I got to find my son a stepmom, man. What do you want me to do?
that's funny.
So we have a 6-game slate tonight. We're just going to start with the first game, go game by game, if that's cool with you.
Yep.
Our first game is AF and APK. And
Sure.
So that's Afreeca Freecs, right? And APK Prince. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And right now, Afreeca is the slight favorite. Am I right about that?
Yeah, they're actually a pretty big favorite. So they are minus 370, which is like that's basically the sportsbook saying they have an 80% chance to win.
Okay. 80?
Yeah,
But
that's pretty high.
that is pretty high. So, and you were mentioning this when we were talking last night. They're listed on top, and APK is listed on the bottom. Why is that significant for DFS?
Sure. So yeah, I mentioned this a little bit in my last video on my YouTube channel. If you ever have a chance to watch League of Legends, you'll notice that before every game, there's something that's called a draft. So a draft is exactly what it sounds like. It's just like gym class, where you have 5-on-5. One team gets the first pick, and then it's a snake draft. It goes 1-2, 1-2-1. It doesn't matter. It's a snake draft. You get it.
Yeah, we get a snake draft for sure.
Yeah. So like you would think it doesn't really matter that much, but in League of Legends there are like 150 champions, and having your choice of the best champions from that set is extremely important. So the blue side gets first pick every single game, and in this format, Afreeca Freecs, since they're the team on top, they're the ones that are blue side. And there's a big advantage to being on blue side in general. Like historically, I think 55% of blue side teams win their matches.
Wow. So you have a favorite on the blue side. That's a good play. That's what we're looking for, right? So like in this particular game, is there any interest in stacking APK at all as a contrarian play, or is there just, as far as the two teams go, what's sort of when you're looking at this game from a DFS perspective, how much exposure do you want? Who are you looking at as a lock? Is there anyone that's a lock, etc.?
I would say that this game will probably not be as popular as most of the other matches because, first of all, it's LCK, so Korea, so people are automatically thinking of it as a less important match. And then these are two not very talented teams, not very popular teams either.
Oh, interesting. One thing I will say, since it's one of the first games, this tends to be a trend in DFS. Now, not all the time, but when games are early, people like to get in on that early action. They like to see their name on the leaderboard early in a tournament, whether it's significant or not. It's just human nature. So you might see just a slight boost. I'm not saying an overwhelming boost in ownership, but just a slight boost because it's there's two games that start at 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern. They're the first two games. They tend to be higher owned than the other games, just for no reason, but that's why.
Yeah.
So
can I get 2 seconds? I gotta take a call.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And me, I'll just kind of like fill in right here while we look at this. I'm just not seeing anything that really, like, for me, what I've been having success with is when I stack a favorite, I want to take an underdog and put them in my top positions, my captain positions, etc., because I want that salary savings so that I can pay up for other players. So now I'm not going to have much exposure, if any at all, to AF APK. But if I was, for example, going to, WE is a big favorite today, I believe. Let me double check that. They are a big favorite. The sports book's updating. So let me pull that up real quick. But like if I want to get Teacherma, who's the cover boy, my son did a beautiful job, by the way, making the thumbnail. My son did that by himself last night, and I really appreciate him for doing that. So I'll take my underdog and play a mid or an ADC in that captain spot, get the salary savings, and move up to that. Real quick, on Twitter, I sent out a tweet last night that if we got 25 retweets, we would announce a $25 PayPal winner. And we're going to do that right now while Mike is away. Our winner from the Twitter contest is at Austin Asplin. So at Austin Asplin, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know how to get that PayPal to you, and we'll get that sent out to you right away. Congratulations to you, and I really appreciate you all joining. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Be part of our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. We'll do that. We announce those winners every Monday. Also, Mike is going to be doing content on his own YouTube channel. There's a link to his YouTube channel at his Twitter, at League of Items. I just don't see anything that tickles my fancy too much here with the AFAPK game. Now, when we go to the second game and when Mike gets back, we'll be able to cover it some more. But I think everyone's golden boy, especially they've been so underpriced lately, is Teacherma. He's just been the man. All of a sudden now he's 12,300 in that captain spot. I know when I first played him a week ago, I think I got him at 96 or 9,900 in that captain spot. I'm trying to pull up the odds for this right now. It's loading up. Let's see. Oh, I just scrolled down right past it. Let me get it pulled up here. So the favorite in this game right now, LGD, they don't want to make it easy for me right now to pull it up. But I believe WE is the favorite. Oh, Mike is back. That's good. He can clear this all up. I moved on past AF APK. I gave away the $25 winner, and I sent people to your YouTube link as well.
All right, cool.
Cool. So that's good. So let's move on to LGD and WE. I was just talking about our cover boy. Actually, my son made a beautiful thumbnail for this video last night. Is Teacherma. He's been my boy. Every time I play him, I win money, it seems like.
Nice.
I was getting him really cheap in the captain spot for up until now. Now he's the second highest, one of the highest on the slate.
Sure. So let's see if he's starting. I think that Kenzie put out the lineups. Yeah, he's starting.
Yeah, that's a weird team. I did notice they have a bunch of mids on that team. They have 3 mids. That's not very common, right?
So, it is a little more common than it should be, specifically in like LPL in China and Korea, because teams are always thinking of themselves as like wanting to have options to sub people in and out of matches. But it's really not an advantage unless you have teams that have like 2 players with fundamentally different play styles.
Okay, gotcha.
So it just doesn't really, it's not an advantage, and it can only fuck things up for us in esports. And when you get someone playing like the first game and then not playing the second or third game, you want to kill yourself. It's horrible.
Right.
It's so bad.
Right. So Team WE is the favorite right now over LGD. Is this a game we're stacking, WE LGD?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of World Elite. WE is World Elite, and LGD is just LGD. It doesn't matter. WE, LGD. I'm just saying what their other team name is.
Right.
But I love both of these teams. I've used a lot of them this year, and even though I do like World Elite a lot, they're not going to be my favorite play just because they're so expensive at this point.
Right.
So when I'm going through my lineups, I'm always trying to figure out like which teams offer value and who am I going to pick for value, and who am I going to pick because it's like a puzzle piece that fits into my stack.
Exactly. I was just talking about that when you were away. That's exactly what we were talking about, sort of.
Yeah. So the thing with stacking is like 4-3 stacking and 3-4 stacking. They're both fundamental pieces of playing DraftKings esports. It's similar to baseball in that way.
Right.
So with World Elite, I think they're the most expensive team on the slate, which from like a talent perspective, they're not the most talented team on the slate.
Right. They've just been red hot. They've just been missing, put up like 90 some points for me the other day. It was crazy. It was just craziness. Yeah. And they were very, very cheap at that time.
Yeah. So at this point, like basically I'm pot committed on LGD. Like I continuously make lineups with them and they haven't really made it work yet. But if you just look at LGD, they have Peanut, and Peanut is one of the best junglers in the world. Okay. At least he was. Like I don't know, maybe he's not significantly worse than he was. I don't even know why I was going to say that, but he was on the best team in the world a few years ago. He was on T1 in Korea with like Faker and that coach from Vici Gaming. Okay. So he has been around great players. He's been around great coaches, and he performed well in that environment. So there's no reason to think that he's going to be outclassed by Team World Elite. So if LGD wins, which I think there's a pretty good chance that they do win this, he's going to be a big part of it.
Love that.
The problem is I think that LGD is going to be popular because I think most people agree with me in that way.
Interesting. Well, do you think, are you seeing more, since you've been playing DraftKings League of Legends a lot, are you seeing just a huge influx of casual players who have no clue what's going on?
Honestly, it's kind of the opposite. I think that if you look at a contest like Titans Fury, right? Back in the day, you used to only have like 2,000 or 2,500 entries, and everybody could put in like 3% of the max field.
Right.
And that would be like, I would max enter, and then a couple other guys would max enter, and then the rest of it would be casuals. But now it's like these guys are pumping in 1,500 lineups.
Right.
150 lineups, $1,500, and there are so many of them. Like there are so many people playing a higher volume than there used to be.
Right.
And with that comes people who are paying more attention and are better at DraftKings in general. So sure. I would say the field is actually getting more competitive than it used to be. And with the way that the contests are structured and like the payouts are so top heavy, like a lot of that money is getting consolidated into like the good players.
Right. Which is frustrating. I know people get frustrated with the mass enterers, etc. But we also have to keep in mind that's the reason we have a chance at winning all that money is because the people spending all that money to get in are driving up, the price pools. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, these guys do end up swinging. They have huge swings. When they're winning, they win a ton. When they lose, they lose a ton. Right. Like I was watching a slate a couple days ago. Maybe it was sometime last week, and Brick75, who like took down one of the bigger tournaments, was in a bunch of like the higher stakes stuff. And I went out and I looked at some of his contests that he was in, and he had like a stack that was expected to be very like a high equity play, and they were just getting destroyed. So I mean, he just like he gave away like 20 grand at least. I think
it's easy to bash those guys, because you see them multi-enter. It's easy, and I actually know quite a few of them, and they're really good people. Really, they're great guys.
Sure. Yeah.
But for me, it's all about that excitement to get to first. So for me, the higher the prize pool, the more the merrier. Yeah. But I do understand the frustration when you're like, damn it, I'm 3 points away from first, but I'm finishing in 743rd place.
Yeah.
Because there's all these lines.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that.
Right.
I've squeaked out wins like this year I won the opening tournament for the LCS. I chopped that for like 7,500 with another guy, and I barely came in first. But the good thing is that I also came in third by myself. So
there you go.
It was a good day.
There you go. That's a great day.
Yeah.
Okay, so LGDWE, we're good on that. Like, so of course. So do you think WE is going to be very popular? World Elite's going to be popular at all, or is that going to be a contrarian favorite that you could play with high upside, even though they're super expensive? Is their price going to drive down their ownership?
I don't think so. I think that the puzzle thing that I was talking about before, like how the pieces just fit together. I think a lot of people are going to look to World Elite. And I'm not saying that they have a low percent chance of being the best stack on the slate. I'm just saying they're not as good as what the betting markets are saying that they are.
Gotcha.
Because if World Elite wins in 2-0, LGD is the kind of team you want to be playing against, because they're not just going to lay down and die for the most part. LGD typically plays higher kill matches where they're trying to get back into the game,
Okay.
which is something we want for DraftKings. So I would say this is a good game altogether on both sides of things. So we can go each side. So I think for World Elite, if I was stacking World Elite, one thing that I'm looking at is Morgan, because Morgan is a player from Korea. He's an import, and he's a very high skill level player.
Okay.
And the World Elite at some point this season is going to start setting up drafts like around him to help facilitate him win. That's not normal for most teams.
Okay.
So like one way to look at that would be, if you think about it in basketball, focusing on playing through your top laner is like focusing on playing through your center.
Right.
Like you don't need to do it, and it's not necessarily the best thing, but if he has a very good matchup, then it's an easy way to win the game.
Right.
So that's something that I would watch out for. So for someone like Morgan, I would probably want to have him included in at least some of my stacks for World Elite. And then obviously you want Beishang, Teacher Ma, and Jiaomeng, because that's just how stacking works in DraftKings. So the exposure you want to get first is probably Jiaomeng, and then Teacher Ma, then Beishang, and then it's a toss up between Missing and Morgan.
Right. And I guess we should probably touch on this too. When you're picking your captain spot, do you always just want to go mid ADC or jungler? I guess I've seen some jungler wins. I've seen some people even put support in there, which doesn't make a bunch of sense to me. But again, I'm not the expert here.
So I wish there was a way that there is a way to do it. I don't know how to do it. I wish that I could show people like a visualization of what kind of lineups are going to win. Like I have a sheet that kind of does it, but it's not.
I was blown away by your sheet when you showed the results from the day before, and you showed how there was 12 or 13 lineups that you could have played with stacks that would have beat the first place lineup, which that's rare in DFS, especially like you just don't see a ton of that in the other sports.
At least people don't, I'm not sure about that, but it's not something that people normally explore. Like people don't go out there actively looking for like what was the optimal lineup last night.
Right.
And I think that doing that, like that backtracking,
that might be something we'll add to future shows. We'll figure out a way we can have it on the screen. Like you could send it to me and we could have it up on the screen if that's something you want to share. And I know we're figuring out ways for people to be able to get your sheet. Give us some time. This is our first show, so give us some time. We'll get it sorted out. It was a fascinating sheet. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. I couldn't believe what I saw.
It took me a long time to like a lot of hours to like kind of get it all put together and figure out how it makes sense and like how to make it easier to update and stuff like that.
Right.
But so getting back to your question about, when does it make sense to stack an AD carry and a mid laner, and when does it make sense to have a jungler in there?
Right.
So on a 6-game slate, you basically in order to have a mid laner or an AD carry as your captain, you need one of the you cannot have the biggest favorites on the slate be the highest scoring team.
Hey, I actually feel smart. I just said that when you were away. You got to take the underdogs, right?
That's what dictates all of this.
Right.
So if we go into this set tonight and all 6 favorites win, then the best lineup constructions will most likely be jungler or support.
Right.
Because that allows you to get winning players from 2 teams onto your lineups.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm always looking for underdogs, is because I think that, I know that AD carries and mid laners have the highest upside. So you want to get as many of them into your lineup as possible. Right. So by picking an underdog, you have 3, what they're called carry players. Mid laners and AD carries are considered carry players. And it's because they can carry their team to a victory.
Right.
And so you want 3 of those guys in your lineup.
Makes a ton of sense. That just makes perfect sense. So if we're stacking World Elite, of course, like you said, Bishang, Morgan, Ticherma, and then a toss up with Missing and Humang. What about the LGD side? If you were stacking that underdog with them, like you just talked about, they're such a big underdog. Their prices are cheap, so you can fit Kramer, Peanut, all these guys in. Is that something? Am I even close to right there?
Yeah, yeah. So with LGD, like I said, the most important player on LGD is Peanut. If LGD wins, Peanut will score a lot of points. Peanut is the kind of player who has the chance of being the highest scoring player on his own team. You don't really see that often from junglers. Most games, the AD carry or the mid laner is going to have the most points,
Right,
and the jungler will be like third. But Peanut isn't afraid of taking the kills because he knows that he can turn those kills into a victory.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
like
two of his last five, he's got over 100 points. So
yeah, so one player that I would compare him to is Yankos in Europe, or Blabber in North America. Those are the kinds of carry junglers who are willing to put the team on their back and try to like win the game on their own.
perfect.
Um, so for LGD, I would say the last time they played, they had Fen, who was their backup mid laner, play top lane, and I think that they actually looked a lot better in that scenario. And he's not the reason they lost. So personally, I would think that LGD was better off keeping Fen in that top lane, but they're going back to Cult. So
Well,
he's the second most expensive top laner on this list. So you
right,
get a little bit of extra salary savings.
right.
So I would prefer Peanut, Yuki, Kramer. That's your core, obviously. Those are the three-person that you would focus on. And then I think so one thing we should mention is that in order to justify picking a top laner or a support in your stack for an underdog, you really want them to have a chance of 2-0ing, because supports and top laners are not going to get a lot of points in losses
Right.
unless it's like an abnormal game.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense. All right, let's move it along to the third game. Damwon Gaming against HLE. How much interest do you have in this game? I believe HLE is the favorite. Is that correct?
Damwon's the favorite.
Oh, Damwon's.
Yeah, Damwon is a pretty good team. Um, I think that this series is a lot closer than I think that the people when people look at this matchup, they're going to think to themselves that they're two teams that have similar talent, but the sportsbook is saying that Damwon Gaming is significantly better. And that's probably based off of record. I think that their record is better than the other teams, and they have players that are more popular
Gotcha.
than the other team. So if you look at the lineup from Hanwha Life, I think a lot of their players came from Griffin, from a few years ago, and they were a good team.
Oh yeah, there. I found it. I was looking at they already have odds up for April 4th games. Damn. I was scrolled down too far. I was looking at the next Damwon game, but
That's funny.
yeah. Yeah,
But yeah, so this is not going to be this is not going to be the game that I'm the most interested in. It is LCK, so that's going to make it be a little bit lower owned. So maybe it does make sense as like a puzzle piece, but uh, yeah, that's
Right.
basically
Right.
so I think that most decisions around this team are going to be determined by how much salary do I have left in my lineup.
Right.
They're not the team that I want to put in first.
Right. Right. I agree. We'll just move on to game 4. I think we covered that, right? I think that's right there, because I think we all want to talk about the Rogue Warriors, right? Getting busted for match fixing.
Yeah.
Right. They have fallen off a cliff. I remember right when I first started, everyone was telling me, play Rogue Warriors, play Rogue Warriors, and they have absolutely sucked. Is there any hope for them turning it around?
I think that there's definitely there's a lot of reasons to pick Rogue Warriors. I think that the way that the lineups are set up and the salaries are set up just doesn't make any sense to me. So right now, Billy Gaming is a minus 350 favorite, which is about 75%. There's no way that they're a 75% favorite in this matchup.
Right.
So I like Rogue Warriors a lot. I think that this is another night where you're going to try to get underdogs into your lineups.
Yeah, they are
Like,
cheap. They are cheap.
this could be another situation. Like I might run out. Like one tournament that's really good on DraftKings is the $3 20 entry max. So if you have some like lower percentage plays that you want to try out because you like the idea of a certain lineup construction, you might want to throw in that lineup into the $3 contest, and then like a play that you feel more comfortable with into the $10 contest or something like that.
I think that's smart.
Yeah, so for the $3 tournament, I would consider doing something like LGD plus Rogue Warriors because you have very high upside. I think that both of these teams could win 2-0 against the other team.
Wow.
And
Rogue
the other
Warrior.
thing is,
It's a bold
the other
prediction.
thing,
I like that. I like
the
that.
other thing with underdogs is you want underdogs who are willing to fight the other team because in losses they have a higher percent chance of getting higher kills.
Sure.
So if you're going to lose a game, you need to lose a game and get kills. Like last night, if you look at the E-Star match, E-Star lost a game where it was like 18-18.
Right.
And 18, if you take 18 kills and put it on like the North American slate last week, they would have been the highest scoring team.
Right.
So
That's a great
it's
point.
all relative to
Right.
the slate that you're playing.
Right. That's a great point. So Rogue Warriors. Okay. So are you gonna have any exposure to BLG, or are you gonna go strictly with the underdog here?
It would probably be a puzzle piece thing.
Right.
I always look for the underdogs that I like the most, and then I try to build lineups around that. If there's a favorite that I absolutely love for some reason that I think might go under owned, I'll focus on a favorite, but I really do look for underdogs for the most part. So if we go matchup by matchup, I think it'll probably be actually we have the lineups that are out. So let me just look at that real quick.
Oh yeah, they did release the lineups. Here we go. So for BLG, let me pull them up. They're starting Ad, Meteor, Fofo, Jinzhao, and Zinmo.
Okay, so I think if we're looking at Rogue Warriors, they're playing Holder instead of Crazy. Crazy showed some pretty good matches in the beginning of the season, and he was one of the players that I actually liked off of their team. So that makes me like them a little bit less, but I would still be happy running out the jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support because I've seen all those players play before, and I think they're pretty good. And then Holder, if I need him to like make salaries work, I would throw him in there. But he's not my favorite play from that team.
Gotcha.
And then for BLG, I think ADD I'm not familiar with, but Meteor, Fofo, and Jinzhao and Zinmo, that's their normal roster. I'm not sure how they typically play games. They're not. If you look at their game log, they've lost a lot of their matches.
Right.
So that's going to make people think that they can't score points. But scoring points in League of Legends is more about the game environment than the talent of a team.
Shockingly enough, they have lost a lot of their matches, but their last match they just beat WE.
Sure.
I mean, there you go. So that goes back to your WE thing. Like WE, yeah. Why are they favored so high? Like they're a C9 team or something like that. And
yeah.
Or whoever the damn best team is that? Who's the best team?
C9's the best in North America.
C9's the best 9. Okay, so I'm not crazy there. Although they screwed me yesterday in Rocket League. That son of a bitch, really? Sonic.
I haven't tried any of that stuff yet.
I don't know. I don't know why I even tried it. I picked Sonic because of Sonic the Hedgehog. I swear to God, and that guy sucks. That's all I know. All right, so let's move on to KT and DRX. Popular game? Am I crazy for thinking this is a popular game?
I think after last night, I think people are going to double down on their position that the LPL just scores more points.
Right.
So maybe I do look to something like this to try to get contrarian and different. The problem with this game specifically is that I think both teams kind of want to play it slow. So KT Rolster, they're not out there trying to score 1,000,000 points against a good team. When you have two good teams face off against each other, the underdog is really the one who determines how bloody a game gets.
Right.
And I don't think that KT believes in themselves enough to play like a high kill match. So they'll probably try to play a low variance game and drag this one out because KT's been winning a lot of games recently.
Right.
So, if KT can get ahead of DragonX will fight you. So that could be a good thing to have. But, it's kind of sketchy. I don't really love this matchup.
Right. Yeah, they got DragonX as a slight favorite right now. Is that right? Am I seeing that right?
Okay, well, in that case, I didn't really look at the line yet. Okay, so Dragon X is minus 200. Minus 200 is about 66% chance. I think that they're actually a better favorite than that. So if I get exposure from this matchup, it's going to be from Dragon X.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have limited exposure,
Gotcha.
and it's going to be more about who I can fit in because I have Dragon X than Dragon X themselves.
That makes a ton of sense. Let's move to the last game. One of my favorite teams, the team that has won me the most money so far, Sunning.
Sure.
They've also lost me the most. It's because I just kept getting this is an LPL game, right? Am I right about that? So we anticipate this being high scoring. This is the one I plan on having exposure to. I don't know if I'm but I gotta wait to hear what you say. Honestly, I'm learning from you as we go.
So, Top Esports just picked up a previous world champion, so I'm not sure if he's going to play tonight, and I'm not sure how that's going to impact their current player. But right now, if you look at the AD carry position, Fodic is about to get replaced. They just signed this guy, Jackie Love. He used to be on Invictus Gaming, and they won the world championship in 2018. Jackie Love is one of the most popular players in China, and he just wasn't signed to a team for some reason at the beginning of this split. I think it was probably like contract dispute or something like that.
Okay.
But they just signed him to a huge contract. So I don't know if tonight is going to be when they start playing him, but they will play him eventually. So if I'm looking at this game, I think
that would be interesting too, because he's not on the slate. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, did they release the lineup? So let's see if he was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they have Fodic still in.
Okay.
So it's tough to get into the psychology of players. I don't know anything about Fodic in real life. Maybe this is the kind of thing that drives him to play better. Sure. Maybe it's the kind of thing that destroys his confidence. I honestly don't have any idea. But just when you're making your lineup, you might want to take that into consideration. If I'm looking at Top Esports as a team, Knight scores more points than the AD carry already. And they will probably not want to play around Fodic because it's not going to improve their team.
Right.
Like one thing that teams do during the regular season is try out different play styles in the match and try to win through different lanes so that they can have a more broad portfolio going into the playoffs. So it'll like scare teams and make them think, oh, we have to ban this champion because they play around this player.
Right.
So I think Knight and Karsa are a good combination. Karsa's a very good jungler. He came from like the second tier division in China, and he was like a very popular player that kept going to Worlds with his previous team, Flash Wolves.
Okay.
So Karsa's very good. Knight's good. Fodic has scored points, so I'm not saying fade Fodic. It's just the whole Jackie Love situation makes me kind of question what's going on.
Sure.
And then
it doesn't really inspire a lot of faith in you when they bring in the best player in the world at your position or one of the top players in the world at your position. Sure.
Although, to be fair, it's like I'm not saying that Jackie Love is LeBron James, but if LeBron James hit the free agent market, every single team is going to try to get him.
Correct.
So it's like everybody knows that Jackie Love is like a top 2 or 3.
When you say that, I just think of Jackie Moon and
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
wrestling Jackie a bear Moon. And the Flint, Michigan Rapids, whatever the hell it was.
Jackie Love is more like Andre 3000.
Okay, makes more sense
than Jackie Moon.
Than Jackie Moon, that's good.
Yeah.
I just kind of realized how much of a salary savings Sunning is.
Yeah. So I'm sure they're a pretty big underdog, right?
They are an underdog. Let's see.
Plus 200.
Yeah, plus 200.
So the interesting thing about this matchup that is actually very good for like Draftkings scoring is that both of these teams, it's called Sword and Shield, which means like you want to protect your most important player. Some teams play more skirmish heavy where it's like getting picks around the map and like small skirmishes.
Right.
But these teams really want to get into a 5v5 team fight setting and play around that. So they're going to be playing around all the big objectives. So like they play around dragons, they play around Baron, they play around Rift Herald. So if Sunning wins, it's going to be because of Huan Feng, who is their best player. He's a young AD carry, and they've already shown a willingness to play around him. So if you look at 4 of their previous matchups, he scored right around 100 points.
Yeah, he's been great, and he's 10-2 in the captain spot.
Yeah, and even in one of their losses, one of their set losses, he scored 94 points, which tells me that even if they don't 2-0, they have a chance of getting close to 100 points, which is important.
Right. Right. I love that. All right. Well, that's every game. So if I had to, I don't know if this puts you in too much of a box, your 3 favorite team stacks of the night. Are you ready do you know enough yet for today's slate?
Before we do that, show me so based off of the information that we just talked about, how would you start your lineup? Like, did you have a team that you wanted to play before you even looked at the lineups, or has anything changed for you?
I think Sunning has jumped up the board for me a lot. I was already thinking about them. I wanted to see and now that I see the pricing, like for me right now, I like Huang Feng in my captain spot.
Okay.
And I like stacking him with. Are they playing Biabu or Bin tonight? Let's see. That's up.
Yeah, let's just check.
Biabu. Like I really like this idea of stacking them. Even as a team, they're only 4,200. So there's a lot of salary savings there. Is there something I should be looking at when I pick a team?
Yeah. So So if you think that Sunning is going to be the highest scoring stack on the slate, then it's better to get 4 players from that instead of 3 players and the team.
Right. Okay.
And then the other part is, do you think that they're going to 2-0 or 2-1? And is there any team that you can stack with that is going to potentially go 2-0? Because on DraftKings, one of the biggest ways to score points is the bonus structure.
Okay.
If you sweep the other team 2-0. So if you think that Sunning is going to win and score you a lot of points, but they're only going to win 2 out of the 3 and they're going to win 2 out of 3 matches instead of 2 out of 2,
right,
then you're going to get additional bonus points from some other team.
Gotcha.
So you would probably want to take the salary savings from Sunning. Like if you did Huan Feng in the captain position, got their jungler and mid laner, and then found a more expensive stack to pair them with that you think has a good chance of 2-0ing, that would probably give you a higher ceiling.
Right. I mean, you could go when you do that, you can play any ADC you want. Basically.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
support. If you stack those 4 in order, Huang Feng, Biabu, and if you play their top, their jungler, their midliner, and you put Huang Feng at the captain spot, you have 7,000 per salary left, or 7,000 per player left. So again,
sure
I don't think I'm not, I don't know enough to just say Sunning's definitely going to win, but I think they're such a high scoring underdog that I'm willing to take a shot in tournaments and go for broke.
Yeah. So the way that the slate is setting up, going back to your question about what teams I like the most, the teams that I'm going to focus on when I start building my lineups are going to be LGD, Rogue Warriors, and Sunning.
Love it.
So I always, like I said before, I always look for underdogs first, and I try to see what combinations does this let me get to. And then after I do that, I go to the favorite side. So the biggest favorites are going to be the highest owned players. How do I get myself exposure to the highest owned players without hopefully creating a huge duplicate?
Right. I love it. Is there anything else you wanted to add at the end of the video that we should think about for tonight, or? So much information. This has been awesome. And guys, the videos will shorten up now that we're starting to get some of the questions answered. But I think it's really important, especially for my audience who may not play as much, the wealth of knowledge and talking about the players and the teams who's matched up where. Is there any particular player where you're like, that player is grossly underpriced anywhere on the slate?
I don't think that in League of Legends specifically, I don't think that you're going to find that very often, just because the way that DraftKings puts out their salaries is so correlated to like the Vegas lines.
Right.
But right when I said that, I looked at the AD carry position, and Deft is 6,600. Deft is one of probably the 5 to 10 best AD carries in the world, and he is not even a top 5 AD carry on this slate. So that's very interesting to me.
So then if you're like, damn, he's underpriced, does that force you to build a stack around him, or do you one off him? Is that something that's
So Deft is the kind of player where Dragon X, I'm the kind of player who runs out multiple lineups, and
right, sure.
I will get exposure to as many teams as I can. So I will have Dragon X in some stacks,
Okay.
and this just makes me want it even more because
Right.
if
Title
like
of
I
your
was
sex
saying
tape.
during the breakdown, KT isn't necessarily the kind of opponent that I want to have my team going against because I'm not convinced that they're going to like struggle
Right.
basically.
Right.
And that kind of potentially limits the upside of deft. But if we can get into a game scenario that, you know, Dragon X needs to get a bunch of kills, I think that's a possibility. So it might be the lower percentage outcome, but it's definitely in the realm of outcomes. So
Love
I
it.
would definitely want to have some Dragon X with deft.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything else that I forgot to mention or that you wanted to mention about? Don't forget to check out his Twitter handle, League of Items. There's also a link to his YouTube channel right there. Are you going to be doing another video later today, or is this it for you today?
I'll probably put something together,
Okay.
just like something a little faster. So the one thing I'd want to say is, let us know if you want these to be quicker videos or a little longer. I think there is a lot of value in going through every individual game and like talking about it the way that we have.
Right.
But if there's something that's easier to digest, like maybe you need a 5 or 10 minute quick hit, just let us know about that. And then if you want to reach out to me directly on Twitter or YouTube, I'll answer your questions. If you want some kind of like coaching, I haven't I haven't done coaching for DraftKings before, but I can help walk through your thought process and tell you where you might be missing out on stuff, or so like give you some tips on what you might want to look for. And then like we've referenced my sheet in the past, so today I will probably put out a video with my sheet for tonight's slate,
Boom.
and just go through some of the interesting things that I find in that. And I'm thinking about putting together a Patreon page where I can kind of give access to a part of my sheet. So if there's any interest in that, just hit me up directly,
Perfect.
and we can go from there.
Perfect. Is there a slate for tomorrow? Are we doing this again tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that like every day they're
Excellent.
going to have stuff going on in
Excellent.
China
Oh
and
yeah, I
Korea.
can see it. I could see him right here. Yeah, there's tons of contests. So we'll be back at it tomorrow. I thought this went great. We only rambled on for 52 minutes. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, be part of our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. We'll announce that winner on Monday. Congratulations to our Twitter winner at Austin Asplin. Thank you guys for getting that retweeted out. I really appreciate all that. I hope you enjoyed the show. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Cheers again. Be safe. Be healthy. Stay the fuck away from each other.
Yeah.
Don't Jamal Murray it, okay? Do not. I mean, if you get a chance to Jamal Murray it with the hot blonde, may as well do
Yeah,
it.
it's
But
not the worst thing to do.
no, I mean it's fine. Like you can wash your hands and gargle with mouthwash. Everything's fine. I'm DFS Bachelor. That's Mike. Thank you all again so much. We'll see you tomorrow with another video, and be sure to check out his channel. He's gonna have a quick hitter up with his sheet and stuff later as well, right? That's what you said. So check him out. He knows his shit. Appreciate you being here, man. This is a lot of fun.
Thanks for
And
having me.
we'll talk after this, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye, folks.
Sure.